Hello, Film Courage, and to anyone else who's watching this, my name is Richard Garzarelli. I'm here today to tell you a little bit about myself, how I got into script writing, why I'm passionate about it, as well as share a little bit with you about a script that I'm currently working on. So let's jump right in. I've been a writer for about a year now. I've always been a huge lover of film, but it's relatively recently that I started writing. I studied Japanese in undergrad, and then I went to business school for my graduate degree. So it wasn't something that I studied in school. Um, it was during grad school I decided that I wanted to write, but I knew at the time I really didn't have the time that I wanted to dedicate to it. So it was actually about a year ago, a little bit more than a year. I was working full-time in Washington, D.C., and I just decided that I wanted to save up money for a few months, take some time off, and dedicate myself fully to writing. So fell in love with it pretty immediately, and I've been writing diligently ever since. Currently working on is both a psychological horror and a supernatural horror, all rolled into one absolutely terrifying, but also very compelling and unique story. I think people are really going to enjoy it. One of the ideas that I wanted to really build this story on is that we all have these symbols in our everyday lives that I think emotionally and visually represent to us safety or purity, and in a way that they can't be touched by anything sinister or evil. And I wanted to take those symbols and really flip them on their head in a way that I think people are going to find really intriguing and different. So I've been writing the script for about 3 months. It's nearly complete. I'm just putting the final touches on it. And yeah, I'm really excited to get it done so I can share it with everyone. I'd say the major reason that I never quit on this script is because I knew the elements that it's built on are very universal. The story is really built around the fear of isolation, aloneness, and abandonment, both in a literal and figurative sense. And I knew that everybody can identify with that on some level. So obviously, the way that that plays out in my script, the scenarios that come up, are not typical ones that people would deal with regularly, if ever. But I knew that, anybody watching or viewing my story will, immediately understand what that character's going through. And I think it's really important to make that connection. I'd say definitely the coolest story that I have so far as a screenwriter is how I got started with it. So basically, I recognized when I was getting started that I just wasn't in the position to really dedicate as much time as I wanted to. Full-time job, social life, there's no way you can do all of that and also write 12 hours a day. So my mother actually was born and raised and grew up in Jamaica, and I still have family there. So I pretty much saved up money over the course of about 3 months, and then I quit my job, moved down to Jamaica for 2 months, and the goal was get down there, finish my first script. So that's what I did. Moved to a tropical island, which was an interesting place to be when writing horror, but it was a fun juxtaposition. But basically, went down there the day before I flew back to the United States. I finished my first script. So, the lesson that screenwriting has really taught me is that you can't really understand a world you're creating until you're in the midst of creating it. And what I mean by that is many of my stories, my characters, their traits, their personalities, their motivations, their interactions with each other, all of those things started out a certain way and very much took on a life of their own as my scripts developed. So my big takeaway from that, honestly, was that art is a very living and breathing thing. It not only means different things to different people, but it affects us in very, drastically different ways. So it's really an amazing experience to kind of bring that world to life, but also watch it grow as you're creating it. I typically write during the evenings or the nighttime. I'm definitely a late night person. I like working and kind of just running on a late schedule. I'm definitely the most creative, I'd say, during the between the hours of 9 p.m. and 3 a.m. So that's when I typically do my best work. At the same time, writing in the middle of the night, I think definitely helps with writing horror. So it's been very helpful. I'd say my biggest initial goal with the screenwriting is to really deliver on making sure that I create the best version of the stories that I want to tell. But, you know, bigger picture, ultimately, I just want to create compelling stories for curious people. You know, from when I was young, I've had a lot of really weird but interesting stuff going on in my head story-wise, and I don't see them anywhere else. And for me, I just want to share them with as many people as possible. And I think there's no better feeling than taking something really creative in your head and putting it down on paper and sharing. Lastly, just want to say thank you to Film Courage for this opportunity, and thank you to anyone else who's watched this. I definitely appreciate your time. I hope you can tell that I'm really passionate about this. It's important to me. I put a lot of time into it, and I'm excited to keep going with it. So thanks for sharing your time. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed sharing with you. And yeah, I'm going to be excited when I'm able to not just share this script I've been telling you about, but a lot of the other ones that I've completed and I'm working on as well. So looking forward to it.